So you want to buy a house in Vancouver, but you can't figure out why it's leaning like the Tower of Pisa. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about Vancouver's peat bog, why homes appear like they're tilting and leaning, and whether or not they're okay to buy. Vancouver's peat bogs are a legacy of actually the post-ice age geology. Peat actually behaves nothing like regular soil. It compresses under weight, it'll move laterally, and it continues to decompose long after you've developed on it. Early settlers quickly discovered this the hard way. Buildings tilted, roads actually sank, and infrastructure that was underneath the roads, it all needed constant repair. Today, the bog's legacy really shows up in real estate construction. Homes built without proper ground engineering can experience settlement, drainage problems, structural stress over time. And that's why modern developments in former bogs rely heavily on geotechnical reports, piling depth requirements, long-term monitoring, and import materials to stabilize structures. This is why I want you to understand that you're buying, when you look in areas of East Vancouver and Vancouver West, you are potentially buying in an area where the soil can be compromised. So there are a few things you're going to want to watch out for. Let's get into it. There's certain parts of East Vancouver that specifically is Cedar Cottage, Killarney, Knight and 41st area, Victoria-Fraserview, and there's some sections near 49th, kind of east of Knight, where you've got some issues. Now, these are also some really, really great neighborhoods to live in, and the reason for that is they're very central within Vancouver. You can get out of the city very quickly, you can get downtown very quickly. That's why these areas are really popular, and they're very expensive to live in, but not all homes are built the same. If you go into a neighborhood and you see visible signs of the floor sloping, you'll actually, when you walk up to some of these homes, you'll see it in the road. The road will have a huge grade to it. You'll see wonky sidewalks. You'll also see fences that are sort of built and leaning. And then inside the home, even homes that are built in sort of the last 10 years, you can even see some of those that are tilting left, front, right. Now, this can be hugely unsettling to people who don't understand what's going on. Properties in parts of Killarney, as an example, they'll require piling foundations, screw piles that go down, 15, 20 feet into the ground that actually hit that hard ground that the home can be built on. And you'll have multiple piles throughout the home that are supporting that home. That is exactly what you want to see. If you don't, you end up with all the fluff that the home is sitting on, squishing down, moving, and twisting. And when a home twists, it breaks. You don't want your home to twist. So making sure that you have these elements when you're shopping in these areas is a must. The peat bog, when it decomposes unevenly, you end up getting sinking and settling, tilting and leaning structures, sticking doors and windows inside. Why does this door not open when I'm inside the house and it doesn't appear obvious? It's because the house is twisting and you can't see those stress cracks yet. You'll also see cracked driveways, sidewalks, even cracked foundation pieces. That is very, very costly to fix. Structural leveling can cost anywhere from $20,000 to $70,000 on average. I mean, if you were to go to reinforcing a foundation with piles, you could look at $80,000 to $200,000 for that. So you want to stay away from that unless it's been built like that in the first place. Here are some solutions too. If you're going to buy in one of these areas, which, by the way, like I said earlier, they've got some of the best schools in Vancouver, some of the nicest homes are built in these areas, but they're more expensive to build, and for good reason. I would order a geotechnical review if I'm really not sure about the home, especially if the home is, 1940s, 1950s. Look for evidence of deep piles or engineered fill. And what is engineered fill? That is when you're bringing in crushed material. So you're actually going to excavate all this fluffy dirt out, you're going to get rid of it, and you're going to import crushed material that lays a solid foundation for the home to be built on. I know this because before I was a realtor, I was a construction project manager for an earthworks company for 10 years. I understand soil. Certainly, you can avoid a lot of this if you prioritize buying homes that are built after 2000, because you're almost certainly going to be building to the new building codes, structural upgrades, and seismic upgrades that make sense for these areas. When you look at homes in these areas, you must look at the foundation. You must look for stress fractures throughout the home. You must test those floors, make sure they're even, and make sure those windows open and close smoothly. This is a quick way to see whether or not the home is likely built on piles or not. There's nothing wrong with buying in the bog. It's just making sure that you're not buying blind in the bog, because you can add 15% to the purchase price just to correct the issues in your home. And that most people don't have. Here's actually a pro tip for that. Before you book a showing, you're definitely going to want to ask your agent to pull up the property disclosure statement. It'll tell you whether or not the home has had foundation movement, if there's been issues over the last 5 or 10 years, water issues, electrical problems, structural repairs in the past, assuming, of course, that the seller is being truthful with the document. That one document can save you hours of due diligence. You might just pass the home altogether and move on to the next one, or you may see an opportunity worth exploring. Vancouver has, without a doubt, some of the nicest homes in the country, some of the most beautiful real estate that you could buy. Taking the time to make sure you're buying something of quality matters. But also, Vancouver comes with a lot of complexity, a lot of risks. And certainly when you're looking at homes of different decades and different generations, you need to know what to look for. Understanding the risks, or having someone represent you who does understand the risks, will make sure that this is a financially prudent decision. Choose solid bones. If you can find the permits and it's been done with permits, absolutely entertain that. You're going to want to make sure that you're built on stable soil and away from floodplains. If you look at these things and you do them well and you make sure there's no oil tanks in the ground, chances are your future self will thank you for it.